Hello everyone and welcome to Burn Your Books, Open Your Mind. I'm your friend and host BYBOYM and you are watching Botany for NEET. We have already started with the first chapter in our course for Botany, the living world. Today we are starting with the second topic, characteristics of living beings, growth and reproduction. So in this topic we are going to study both growth as well as reproduction. The living are differentiated from the non-living based on certain characteristics. The characteristics that are obvious are growth, reproduction, ability to sense environment, response to stimuli, consciousness. Some other characteristics are metabolism and organization. Here they are referring to cellular organization. The living is like the non-living since both are composed of matter. What does it mean by that? They are trying to say that both are composed of atoms. An atom is the fundamental unit of matter and all matter, whether living or non-living, is composed of atoms. The living is like the non-living since both are composed of matter and are under the influence of natural forces such as gravity and magnetic field. So both gravity and magnetic field will apply equally on a living or a non-living object. It does not differentiate between a living and a non-living object. So the characteristics that define life, the most obvious characteristic that defines life is comes to your mind is growth. Growth could be of both number or size. So they are saying that twin characteristics of growth are increase in mass and increase in the number. Living beings increase in mass and increase in number. However, growth cannot be considered a defining property of life. Why? Because non-living objects can also show growth. Growth is obvious in living beings, but non-living objects can also grow. How? They can grow by material accumulation or surface adsorption. For example, growth can be observed in mountains, sand mounds, sand dunes. This growth is different from the growth in living beings in the case that it is from outside, while living beings grow from the inside. So let us discuss each characteristic of growth. Increase in number. Biological entities such as viruses, they are not considered as live, but they can multiply when they encounter a host cell. So they need a host to multiply there and increase their population. So biological entities such as viruses do not increase in number on their own, but depend upon the host cell for increasing their population. For unicellular organisms, however, the multiplication, cell division is synonymous with the reproduction. For unicellular organisms such as bacteria and unicellular protists. In the case of multicellular organisms such as humans, growth happens only up to an age. After that, there is a decline in growth. So while in plants, this growth is lifelong. In higher plants and animals, both growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. So either growth will happen or reproduction will happen. So in the early phases of life, the life is differentiated into vegetative phase and reproductive phase. The early phase is the vegetative phase, followed by the reproductive phase. In the vegetative phase, there is no reproduction, only growth, while in the reproductive phase, there is no such growth, but there is reproduction. Next characteristic of growth is increase in mass. An important characteristic of growth is the increase in mass. Why? Non-living objects such as sand dunes also grow, so we cannot consider growth as the defining properties. Okay, we have already discussed about animals and plants. In animals, growth happens up to an age. In plants, it happens throughout their lifespan, and in dead organisms we will not show any growth. The next characteristic is reproduction. Reproduction is the generation of new individuals by an organism bearing features that are much more or less like that of the parent. So reproduction is the production of new organisms that are more or less like the parent organism. Reproduction is of two types, asexual and sexual. Asexual reproduction does not involve the fusion and formation of gametes, and the daughter cells produced or the daughter generation produced is similar to that of the parent in genetic constitution. Asexual reproduction is observed in three domains of life: archaebacteria, eubacteria, and eukarya. In fungi, asexual reproduction by spore formation is the reason why they are so immensely successful in encompassing the whole biome that they inhabit. Budding is observed in lower organisms such as yeast and hydra. Planaria is an interesting organism. It is a flatworm, and if you divide a planaria into two, if you cut a planaria into two, the two parts will grow into two new different individual organisms. So this is true regeneration, which is observed in a fragmented organism regenerates the whole organism. In unicellular organisms, we have discussed cell division is synonymous with reproduction. They will cell divide, and that is their new two daughter cells are produced. The next type of reproduction is sexual reproduction, which involves the formation and fusion of gametes. In the case of humans, the formation of sperm in males and ovum in females. And the offspring that are produced are not genetically identical to the parent. They will carry genes both from male as well as the female, that is both from the mother from the father. Reproduction cannot be considered as the defining property of life, because in single-celled organisms growth and reproduction are not clear. Also, there are a number of organisms that do not reproduce. For example, mules, male worker bees, and sterile humans. Hope you like this video. You are watching Burn Your Books, Open Your Mind.